thought of the day. Please.
Okay, so thank you for staying that long. It's obvious that I'm here because this will give me points for the CTF, and this is really important because last year it made the difference. So, as you can tell. So I will just take like 5 minutes to teach you how to hack, because if you came here, of course, it's because you want to learn how to hack. I assume you know by now that it's very difficult to do symbolic analysis and reverse engineering and this kind of advanced stuff. So I will teach you easier paths to hacking. So first, very important, you have to get a hoodie. So now you look like a hacker, and then what do? Of course, you go on the internet and you start searching for stuff. For instance, what happens if someone has a configuration file where there is a comment like, make this unique and don't share it with anybody ever? Well, of course, it will end up in 5,000 different configuration files with secrets, because this is from the Django configuration file. And if you get this secret, you can actually forge cookies so you can take over the app. GitHub also has some nice tricks, but used to have in 2014, but then they restricted the search box. So now you cannot search for like RSA files, name, ID, RSA with a size over 1 if you don't provide any content. So how do you do? I mean, at this point you're probably stuck, but if you reach level 2, then you search for a commit message. And then you search for a commit message called remove password. And this one is 350,000 commits. So pro tip, there is a tool on GitHub called BFG that will actually delete all the history, whatever. If you made a mistake on a repo, you can actually delete everything, but you need to use that tool. Or Jenkins. So one of the speakers said he would talk about Jenkins, but I think we didn't talk about Jenkins in the end. So Jenkins is just Java code execution by design. So there, if you go to / script console, then you can copy-paste Java code and it will execute on the server. But they thought about security and they say, well, of course you have to be authenticated to do this. The problem is that the default configurations allows you to create an account, because there's a link at the bottom and it says provide an email address and you can create a new account. So the good thing is that it never got a CV assigned, so it's not considered a vulnerability and nobody's scanning for it. I mean, no commercial vendor is scanning for this issue. This one is from PYAML. I don't know if you can read it. So in 2013, someone said, oh, maybe we should rename the configuration setting called YAML.load into YAML.dangerousload. And then in 2016, someone commented, oh yeah, if you put this command in a YAML file, it will actually execute on the server. Oh, you can't read it. Well, anyway. So the command is like exclamation mark, Python object apply os.system rm star. And he found this in the web server logs and it executed in the server. Oh, this one is fun. Can you read it? Yes. So this is from Node.js IP module. And this function is about checking if the request is coming from localhost or going to localhost. So it's used by many security features because, you know, you have a lot of like MongoDB and stuff like that listening on localhost only, and you don't want people to be able to reach localhost. So localhost is actually something very difficult to get in a regex. But can you spot the issue? Well, I was told I had only 5 minutes for the Rump, so I will give you the answer. On Linux, 0 is also localhost. So if you have a server-side request forgery issue, when you can pass HTTP 0 as an address, then you will actually reach localhost. And this is not in the regexp. Yeah, there are a lot of people who are actually going after S3 buckets because there is a LAN rush effect. So if you want something I don't remember the full domain, but it's like s3.amazon.com. The first one to register the name gets it. And there is a slight, so you can guess the names of the buckets based on the company name. For instance, you get company-qa. Whatever Amazon, and usually you end up on the Amazon bucket. And there is a slight configuration intricacy on Amazon is that there's a difference between all users and authenticated users. So if you want to make a bucket public, you click on, you say all users have access. And then some people say, yeah, I don't want this. I want authenticated users to have access. But authenticated users is actually everybody who ever created an Amazon account, including the free tier, not providing your credit card or anything. So this is how this blog post said that like 7% of all the Amazon buckets have actually improper permissions that allows people to download from the bucket. And the last one, shit. The animation was not taken into, okay. The last one is about dangling DNS. And dangling DNS is an attack where you actually say, I want subdomain.company.com to point at 1234 as an IP address. And this is very common. I mean, you have a lot of subdomains for many things. But the problem comes from where when you do not delete those old domains where they're not used anymore. And so you end up having many IP addresses, domain names pointing to IP addresses in the cloud for machines that are not there anymore. People might actually end up getting this IP address again from another project, and you would be able to serve content for a subdomain of the main domain. And then you could possibly get cookies if they are scoped to star.company.com, or you can inject scripts on a company page or whatever. And there's one, for instance, I had one example, so it's in the next slide. I don't want to spoil it because, oh no, I can spoil it. It's like if you look at the website for the French people living abroad, they were supposed to vote on a website, and the project has been canceled. And so the DNS entry is still pointing to an IP address somewhere in the entity cloud, but there is no website anymore. So basically, it's a bit more complicated to be a customer because you can't subscribe with a credit card. You need to talk to a real salesperson. But if you have some time to spend on the phone with entity representative, you can actually create a project in their cloud, and you will be able to fake a website and put some GreHack logo on the page that would cause many sleepless nights in the incident response for the government. But this is not a hack. This is just that they forgot to delete the DNS entry. Okay, that's all.